Hey y'all, hey y'all, hey y'all. That's what we're doing today. It ain't gonna get any better than that, just so that we're clear on all of this. No, happy Friday, you guys. I hope you're having a fantastic Friday. My Friday started off really great. The littles were even early for school this morning with breakfast, and they were super excited because they got to take they got these new little, they're not a big deal, but they are to them, right? But they're like the little thermos things that you can put soup and stuff in. And theirs finally came in, and they were super excited about it because they got to take soup to school today, because I make amazing soups. And so they were excited about that. And then they ate breakfast. Arthur had a pumpkin muffin. Everything was great. Everything was falling into place, right? And so Austin's like, "Hey mom, will you take me to school?" And I was like, "Yeah, buddy, we're good. Let's do this thing." He and I had a fantastic conversation. You know what? As a mom of boys, for starters, but I hear it's the same with girls. I was a talkative girl, so my mom didn't have this problem. I used to tell my parents everything. I still probably tell them more than I should, but here we all are. But anyway, I covet that 20-30 minutes that I get with Austin in the car. And I don't do it every single morning, but I try to do it every single morning. And I think I've talked to you guys about this before. Like, he talks to me about what's going on at school and things like that. Well, this morning we had like the talk. I'm not talking like birds and the bees. He always harasses me about different things that he's going to be when he grows up. But this morning it started off with, "Hey mom, I need this for a project for school." And then it just kind of blossomed from there. You know what I'm talking about? And so it was fabulous. Like, he and I had a great conversation all the way to school. We had our prayer time this morning, like we always do. And so it was a great morning. But for some reason, it took me an hour to get back and forth this morning. And I don't really know why. Now, what some of you, if you live in Laredo, may know, is we had some really heavy storms like a week ago, Sunday, in fact. Sunday? Saturday, Sunday, like in that time frame anyway. And it was apparently pretty severe. And the World Trade Bridge, which is the number one trade port in the United States, took some severe damage. So they've got it operational again. But with that being said, there's also a couple of lanes that are down because of it. And so what that's doing, as you can imagine, is it's kind of bottlenecking traffic a little bit more than usual. And I don't remember if it's on our side or if it's on the Mexican side, but it doesn't really matter, because when it bottlenecks traffic, it bottlenecks traffic. It doesn't matter whose side of the toll booth it's on, right? So they've been very hurriedly trying to fix that situation. They've been trying to redirect traffic to the other bridge that's down the way. It's still here in Laredo and Webb County anyway. But it also is on Mines Road. And so where a bridge went from doing and I mean, it still is, but it's the number one trade port in the United States, to now having to defer some of its traffic to a bridge that doesn't even do 30% of its capacity daily. You can imagine it does make more congestion. And it's not a bad thing if you are looking at dollars and cents and you're looking about trade and things along those lines, something that a lot of politicians these days don't understand the concept of. But for the families that live on that stretch of road, that's a real problem. Now, part of the problem, and you're starting to see this happen more nationally, is that there's no such thing as zoning. There's no such thing as forward planning and things along those lines. Now, they have city managers and city planners and all of those things that are supposed to be doing those things, but they don't. I don't know what happens. I don't know if they don't talk to one another. I don't know if they don't pay attention to what's outside of their drawings. I don't know what happens. But what has happened here specifically in Laredo, and you can even piggyback this off of the Houston explosion conversation about that pipeline that exploded. There are things that were in place long before X, Y, and Z, right? How many times have you gone back to your hometown or even in your hometown and you say, "Man, I remember when that was just a field. My parents have had the same house for 50 years. That was never there," whatever that is, right? And so the same thing happens though in areas like this. And when I ran for office, and even still, I've been a strong voice, or a strong opinion anyway. Let me rephrase it: a strong opinion on this problem that we're facing. And so when we start, and you guys have heard it a little bit when we've talked about the bridges that are trying to pop up or not pop up here along the border. They wanted to just expand this bridge, and Ted Cruz jumped on board with it because he's just all about fanfare and different things along those lines. But they don't forward think, right? And so I'm going to pick on Webb County because this is my home county, and I know this stuff a little bit better. But for the Webb County bridges that we were going to add another international bridge, we wanted to put it, several of us wanted it moved down to the south, which would be in Rio Bravo, which is closer to Zapata. Now, that does several things. Number one, it helps alleviate some of the stress that we have here on Mines Road and at the World Trade Bridge. But it also helps with growth over in this area where there is no growth. Crazy concepts. I know. Now, here's where it gets worse. Here's where it gets worse. Is there the counter argument is probably the most selfish, self-serving counter argument, which is, well, why would people have houses in a trucking area? My house specifically was built almost 10 years before the World Trade Bridge was built. So the question goes back to the city and to the planners and to all of these people that put this stuff into motion to say, why didn't you put this bridge in an area where there wasn't already construction of houses? You see how this changes the whole conversation? We have a whole new dynamic here. Because the problem is that you have this, and we can use the term cronyism, but that's really not even it either. It's really just lack of common sense with the people who are doing the planning. Right? Look at your bridges, for example. It doesn't matter what city you're in. It doesn't matter what state you're in. You have undoubtedly sat in traffic going, what moron thought this was a good idea? Well, the problem is it's some moron that gets paid way more money than all of us combined, who doesn't know his head from a hole in the ground, right? And so I'm saying all of this because this morning it takes me an hour to get home when it usually is only maybe a 40-minute round trip, right? Maybe a 40-minute round trip for me to take Austin to school and bring him back home. Keep in mind, this is about 5 miles, if you will. About 5 miles, if you will. But it takes me about 40 minutes for a round trip. Well, this morning it took me over an hour. And so I get here and I heat up my coffee that needs to be heated up again. And I sit down at the computer and it's frozen. Just completely frozen. And so I'm doing all the little things that you're supposed to do, blah, 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 blah. And I finally just had to physically do the thing that everyone says not to do. But when it's frozen and it won't do anything else, you got to kind of, slap it in the face with some cold water, if you will. So I had to turn it off, hold on to that button for God knows how long, and then turn it back on. Well, so then about 20-30 minutes into this process, pardon the spirit finger, if you will, I had to give it the old the old school student choice try, if you will. I don't know if you if Ashley's watching, she's cracking up laughing at that reference point. Yes, I know I'm incredibly dark because I've been fighting with the computer for an hour this morning. This did not happen. The kids were the priority. Everyone was on school on time, so yay. But mom was not the priority this morning, so y'all get a darker Sandra. But it makes me look like I have a tan and maybe a little bit more mysterious. So enjoy it, America. Anyway, so if you've seen Current Revolt this morning, and I don't know if you have or not, it is not for the faint of heart. If you are a Current Revolt subscriber, buyer beware. And I say that in jest a little bit. But it is definitely a make sure that you are not the faint of heart. Let me see if I can get it pulled up this way. Yeah, here it is. So they have their once a week, and of course I'm like, seriously. And so I teased Walter's like, I read the whole article, and I was like, well, good for you. I only got to read part of it. But if you are a subscriber to Current Revolt, do so. This is, let me see if I can get this opened up here so it's not in my inbox. You can see it a little bit better this way. This is a real story that is happening, and I'm kind of jumping all over this morning. What did you want? Your coffee. Yeah, I do. I need some coffee. I need this reheated. Alexander's not waking up. He's got a job now, and so now he's all like, "I go to sleep," and I'm like, "No, you don't. The rest of us don't. I don't know what makes you so special." Anyway, this is the current revolt story of the week, if you will. And so, if you're a paid subscriber, enjoy this story. This you know what, this coffee is fixing to land on my computer, just so that we're clear on this, Simon. Are you talking about George Kevin Mullen? Who is that? who is this, Simon? I'm trying to pull up your comment, but we're just gonna get swirling vortexes of doom for everything that I try to do today. Anyway, this guy right here is what we believe, what Current Revolt believes is the school choice activist of the century, if you will. And he is a serious gay porn star guy. So there's been a contingency of people, self-included, Ginger Russell, a lot of people from the Tea Party groups to an extent, that have been anti this school choice bill. Now, one of the reasons that we've been anti this school choice bill is when the private schools are looking at this and looking at the fine print, as they have to, as somebody who could be taking federal or state dollars, they're saying, we can't abide by this. We can't abide by this. So your school choice money that you would get is not going to come to this school. Okay, that's the first thing. The second thing is, in the school choice argument and practices, if you will, one of the arguments is that we've taken God out of schools. And I'm not gonna deny that conversation at all. I completely agree. That is a problem that we have. But the problem is that we've taken God out of school and we've replaced him with a bunch of atheists and a bunch of people who do not believe in God, or who will not teach biblical principles. Now, here's where the line is. The concept of school choice is to bring back these biblical principles and even biblical teachings. And the problem is that I understand the word of God, and I know for a fact I cannot have an atheist teaching my child a Bible story. Let's start that. Let me say that again. You cannot have an atheist teach a child a Bible story. And when you have not all teachers are atheists, and I'm not even, so don't misquote or misconstrue that conversation. But there's a big enough contingency nationwide, more importantly for the sake of Texas-wide, of people who are activists for these furry things and transgendering children and all of those things. And so we want to take those people and say, now you have to incorporate scripture into your school teaching. Well, let me make this clear. I don't send my children to a secular public school to get their Bible education. I don't. First of all, that's my responsibility. That's my responsibility as their parent to make sure that they are getting a sound doctrine, biblical education, not the schools. Do I want them to have a moment of silence so that they can pray? Absolutely, I do. Do I want them to be able to celebrate Bible Day at school? Absolutely, I do. To have the comfort to be able to bring their Bible. First of all, let me make this clear. I always, when I was in school, I did take a Bible to school. Just so that we're clear on this. Because there's a day in October, it's like October 17th or something along those lines, or October 9th, where they try to get all the kids to take a Bible to school. And that's great. I'm all for that. I'm all for the church clubs being at school. I'm all for all of those things. But I also understand that equality under the law means that if we have that, that we also have to allow the other half of that shoe. And that is what these private institutions are saying is not coming into our campuses. We're not going to take your state dollars for a school choice bill because we, as a private organization, have the freedom right now to say, no, we're not going to teach transgenderism. No, we're not going to teach furryism. No, we're not going to allow the Satan Club to come in here, because that's the difference between a private organization and a private school and a publicly funded one. And the second church groups start taking public dollars, not personal dollars, public dollars, the second they open themselves up to not being allowed to practice freedom of religion. But we don't want to have that conversation in churches anymore. We don't want to have that conversation in Austin because it's not popular. And that's the problem. The concept is fantastic, school choice. Oh, wait, you're going to pay me to homeschool my child? I'm all about that. Heck yeah, sign me up for that gig. Oh, you're going to come into my home even more now? I mean, you said that you wouldn't, but then also, if I want these dollar bucks, I have to turn this in and have this form and do that and blah, 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 blah. You see the problem? You see the problem? Now, I don't know how. I probably don't want to know how this guy, and let me see if I can get his name from the email here. You think you see it, Simon? I hope you see it. I'm trying to be clear as mud over here today. This guy's name, and I was hoping to just be able to let you guys see it here. It's only, for some dumb reason, it's only allowing me to click on the images to pull it up. I don't know what's happening here. But this is a picture of what this guy looks like now. His name is Corey DeAngelis. And you know, if in fact what's current, and listen, I know that many people get a little antsy about current revolt, but I'm going to be for real with you. They typically, I've never, not typically, I have never seen them put something out that they couldn't prove. You know what I'm talking about? And so that's why, you know, we love Tony Ortiz. We love that group over there because that's who they are, right? They vet this stuff and vet this information out. Yeah, I have absolutely no idea who that is. I'm excited that it's wild though. You know, here anyway, I'll get on that in a minute. But you know, when we start looking at who is pushing legislation, right? Now, I'll give you my school choice legislation story. I've told it before on the air, but during the session, I went into Senator Creighton's office specifically to talk to him about school choice and about something else. While I was there, I was able to meet to somebody who I was told authored the school choice bill. Now, I don't know if it's the same guy. I'm going to put that out there right now. I have no idea if this is the same person because this just came out this morning. The text messages hit my phone when I was and the articles and stuff while I was transporting back and forth with Austin. So I didn't get a chance to really dig into this. So I'm prefacing, I do not know if this is the same person that I met with. But with that being said, the guy that I met with was about 27 years old or so. And you could tell that all he did was write out a bill like he was taught to in school. I don't know whose ideas these came from. I don't know any of that stuff. But here's the problem. We have in Washington, D.C. and in the state of Texas, and I imagine in every other state across the nation, 27-year-olds writing bills with our 40, 50, and 60-year-old legislators going, oh, okay, yeah, that looks good. And then they keep on going. So when we get crap bills, that's where it comes from. It comes from these young kids who are just coming out of college or have been out of college for 4 or 5 years, who have no life experience, who are writing this legislation. They put it up in front of the senator or the senator or the rep, state or federal, it doesn't matter, and says, here you go. Here's what you need to know to push this bill. And it's got everything that you told me to put in there and a few bonus items. Yeah. Sign this. Push this. Push this. Push this. Push this. Push this. Push this. We got to get this in. 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 Hey, we got to get the calendars. We got to get into this. We got to jump. And these senators and these representatives are in such a hurry to do just that because, especially in the state of Texas, we have that big of a window to do it in. And you guys have heard us talk about this. They open the window for bills to be filed in the state of Texas. And within the first week, there's over 7,000 bills for 3 months of legislation. It doesn't make sense. It literally makes no sense. But the authors of most of these bills are children. I know that you're a grown up and you have your own car. You can buy your own beer. But you're not ready to truly tackle this stuff. And the only people who can stop this, let me tell you the only people who can stop this. Are you ready? There's 2. But the buck is always supposed to stop with the boss. Is that correct? The legislators. That's the only people who can change this. The legislators. Do you know why? Because they have the final say on who's in their office. Yes, they may have a chief of staff who may or may not be 20 or 30 years old, young 20 or 30 years old, who have never known life outside of the halls of fill in the blank. From the dorm room to the stateroom, you know what I'm talking about? They don't know a different life. It goes back to the bridges conversation and to the planning conversation. These people have these big, huge degrees, but they don't have a conversation outside of their little focus group. Goes back to polling. We polled 100 Americans. We polled 100 Americans who fit this description exactly, but that's okay. They're still Americans. We polled 100 Americans, and this is what they said. This is not accurate information. And you, just like I, get 900 text messages a day or emails or things that pop up in your social media that say, hey, we need your opinion. Hey, this is an opinion for Webb County. Hey, this is an opinion for Texans. Hey, this is an opinion for people who have dogs. It doesn't matter. You get 900 of them a day. And if you're like me, you're like, yeah, I don't have time to sit here and play with all this crap. And so you don't answer them. But there's this 20-year-old who's trying to make an extra $10 an hour, who's like, send me the survey, honey. I'll fill out your survey. Yeah, I'm a black man, age, what did you need? 45? 45? How many kids do I have? Oh, I'm gay. Yeah, that's fine. And if you don't think that, so this is how they get around all of this. Oh, it wasn't a bot that filled this out. It was a real person. I'm ashamed to say this, but it's true. I caught on to it. That's why I didn't do it. I filled out a thing. I was going to do online food reviews for Uber Eats, right? And so I'm doing this whole thing. And I'm like, oh, man, like, I love food. Like, this is perfect. Like, I'll do this. And then it turned out that I was literally the person behind the bot, right? So when you look at all of these Uber Eats things, reviews, and I'm picking on Uber Eats because that was the specific one. But if you can do it on Google, you can do it on eBay, you can do it on Amazon. It doesn't matter. If you look, Some of them will say verified user or verified purchaser. Those are the real people who sat down and put in their 3, 5, 10-star reviews. If it doesn't have that next to it, it's somebody behind a cell phone who spends 20 minutes a day just clicking next, 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 next. It's not a bot, it's a person that put that review in. I know I'm giving away all the trade secrets today. Are you angry? Warren's absolutely correct. Those kids write those bills to benefit those they're writing it for, not the people. And this morning, Walter and I were talking, going back on that school choice bill specifically, about different organizations and people that all are, hey, this name is on this bill, this name is on this bill, this group, this group, this group, this group, this group. And so now we're like, maybe we need to do a little bit more digging, which we will. These bills are not for the people. Warren is absolutely correct. What we think we know, we have no idea of, because it takes too much time. It takes too much time. I tell people all the time, regardless if you believe it or not, there's a lot of time that gets poured into the show, even when it's not. There's a lot of physical time on my derriere sitting either in front of this computer or the laptop that actually will work when it gets out of the computer shop, or on my daggum phone, or with the news on, or fill in the blank, or talking to other people. Not that that circle is very big most of the time anymore. Oh, by the way, you still have to be mom. You still have to do this. You still have to do this. Don't forget that. And hey, just one more thing. Hey, just one more thing. Hey, just one more thing. And that it's not just Sandra. You guys have that problem too. And that's the point, right? Like, we all have so many different hats that we're wearing. They know that they can sneak all of this crap over top of us. And even for as much news as I consume, I still don't know enough. I still don't know, for example, who a Kevin Mullins is. You're right, but I can tell you about something else. There is so much information that is absorbed by people throughout the day. And some of it, as a mom, is just kind of background noise a little bit. Simon, I think you're getting botted again. Speaking of bots that just pop up into things, nice to join us, Camel Sack. Yeah, you seem legit. Literally, as I talk about the bots, as I live and breathe, we have a bot. Camel Sack with no picture. Very legitimate, I'm certain. It's funny because Walter gets an astronomical amount of bots. And it's funny, like we laugh about it often. The number of bots that he gets. And I oh, Simon, you got, boy, you got here today. Who'd you piss off? Thank you, Simon, friends. But the number of bots that ends up on our social media, as you can clearly see. My mom called me about a bot that was on her thing the other day, and I guess this was like a week or two ago. And I went and I looked back, and I didn't see it. But sometimes I think that there's a way that they can hide them also. I think that there's a way that they can hide themselves as well. And so it's this bot at least liked our show, Simon. You should give her a call. I'm sure she doesn't want to rape you. At least this bot gave us a like. That's nice. Thank you. Thank you, bot. But Walter gets all these super slutty chicks that are like, you have such a great personality and such loving eyes. Your posts always make me giggle. And I was like, oh. And like, because we moderate each other's like social media and stuff. Like I can't see his personal stuff, but like his Bacon Nation page and stuff like that, like it'll pop up all the time. I'm like, this is absolutely nauseating. Tell them to shut up. When I want to feel like sometimes when I want to laugh, I'll go back and just like I never click on them. I just go back and look and like you know how like on your phone or whatever you can just see like the first little tagline or whatever. And I'm just like, he will never let me respond to them, which does kind of make me sad sometimes because when I'm in a mood, I'm like, I just want to tell somebody off, and they're the perfect ones to do it to. It's Friday. Did I tell you guys it's Friday? Let's have, I'm going to tell you what, I'm going to, this is what I'm going to do. Walter has a video that's circulating the interwebs right now. Thank you. Thank you. This girl is on fire. Pumpkin spice and everything nice. I wish there was something else in that coffee. It'd probably make me be in a better mood, but here we all are. It's either fast talking Sandra or I'm going to rip somebody's face off Sandra. So I figured we'd go this way. We're going to take a commercial break and hopefully I can get Walter's video pulled up properly so that we can enjoy his video. So I can tell you guys about what he did yesterday. I thought he was going to come on, but I don't know what he's doing. He's probably sitting in his ice tubs laughing hysterically because he knows I'm like, anyway, here we go. We'll be back in a couple minutes. Grab your friends and your cup of pumpkin spice. We'll be right back. We are back with a huge thank you to you, but we need you. You have to support us, okay? Go to TexasFullyLoaded.com, click on hashtag We the People Work, PayPal, Cash App, Venmo, all at Texas Fully Loaded. Throw dollar bills at us. Do what you need to do. Like Walter will take his pants off. I will not. It's weird. You probably don't need it. He'll keep them on if you pay him enough. Anyway, so please go to TexasFullyLoaded.com. We really do need your support. Also, we need you to, just like the bot did, like and share every episode. That's what we need from you so much. So much. Okay. So please go and do that. Now, yesterday, Walter, okay, so let me tell you what happened yesterday. So yesterday, I'm taking the littles to school. And I think it was a rock, but still. I just had this weird feeling about the car, which it's needed to get checked out for Alex's car. It's needed to get checked for a while. Anyway, so I was like, you know what? I called Manny and he's like, or I texted him and he was like, hey, just take the car. And I was like, done. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and run a rerun because I probably am going to be here for a long time. And I've got there at like 8:30 in the morning to the car place. So I get there, I check in, and they're like, "Yeah, we're gonna be a little bit. It'll be probably about an hour and a half before the car gets in. No problem. Okay, we're good. We're good. That's not a problem." Confirmed that I was just gonna do a rerun. We're good. So now, when I walked in, like the guy knew exactly who I was because we had both of the cars serviced there over the summer. Like we had a whole conversation. Everything was good, right? We're good. He's like, "Yeah, I'll get you checked in. Let me finish putting these people in, and then I'll get you." Perfect. We're good. Which he did. So about almost 10 o'clock, I said, "Hey, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and just walk down the street to get something to eat and yada yada." And he's like, "Yeah, no problem. I've got your number, so I'll let you know when the car's when we take it back." And I'm like, "Perfect, sounds good." So I go to a store. Now all of this is on foot, which is not a big deal. I'm a walker sometimes, so it's not that big of a deal. I'm not a huge walker there per se in that neck of the woods, but here we are. So I walk over, go to a store, walk around that store for like an hour. I can't shop because I'm walking and I don't know how long I'm going to be walking. So then I walk over next door to get something to eat. And then I decide to walk over to the mall and I'm just wasting time. Right. So then finally it's like 1:45 and I haven't heard anything. I've called a couple times. They haven't answered. And I'm like, okay. So I get back over there and my car had not moved from the spot that I had put it. And I'm like, "Ugh, look, I don't have time for this. I got to pick up my little ones at 3 o'clock, blah, blah, blah. Let me go ahead and just get the car. And can I just schedule an appointment for Saturday? That's not a problem. You can schedule an appointment for Saturday." Now this time it's a different guy, but it's also somebody that I knew from when we had all of the work done over the summer. And he apparently didn't recognize me, which is fine. I mean, it happens. I don't know why, but he didn't recognize me. So he goes, "What was the name on the vehicle?" And I was like, "Oh, Sandra Whitten." And he's like, "Sandra Whitten?" And I said, "Yes." And he's like, what kind of car is it?" And I was like, "A 2015 Jeep Cherokee." "That 2015 Jeep Cherokee that hasn't moved from that spot since 8:30 this morning?" And he goes, "Are you sure that's your car?" "Yes, I'm certain that that's my car." "What'd you say?" "Sandra Whitten. That is my name." He's like, "Well, let me try your phone number." So I gave him my phone number. And he goes, "Yeah, I don't have anything popping up." So he goes and he finds my keys, and our car was next. And I was like, "No, I really need to go. We'll make the appointment. We'll come back Saturday, blah, blah, blah." Okay, cool. So he goes and he gets my keys and he's like, "But this is your car." And I was like, "Do you want to open the glove box? I can tell you where to find it." And he's like, "No, I trust you. It's okay." And he goes, "It's weird because we have Suzanne Franza written down." And he gave me some phone number that was not mine. And I was like, "Suzanne Franza." So my name to my children is now Suzanne Franza. You'll need that little tidbit of information for later. Okay. So Walter's day yesterday was way better than my day yesterday. So here's Walter's day yesterday. Take a look at this. Step back. Take a look at this. You can free your mind. You can free your mind. You can free your mind. Yeah, you can free your mind. Seat back, windows down. Just tell me where you wanna go. Leave behind your reservations. Leave behind your reservations. California skies always get you off the ground. Let go with no hesitation. Let go with no hesitation. Stop what you're doing right now. You better watch me. You better watch me. So that was Walter's day yesterday. Definitely way better than wasting a day at the car mechanic. Oh, I see. He was just waiting for his intro video. Is that what this is about, Mr. West?
Hey, my car's running. I ain't got to wait on nobody.
You. He was waiting for his intro video, America.
Man, talk about production getting better. I mean, I'm excited and delighted all in one breath.
Well, good for you, Booty.
You know what? I'm gonna exit and I'm going to re-enter. Just because I can, and that'll also turn on my my proper speaking system.
Just go.
Oh wait, never mind. I can do it right here.
Oh well, then don't go.
Whoa! Word to your mother.
Yes. So
Speaking of mothers, how is your mama doing?
I mean, I guess I've only texted with her this morning in a group chat, so here we are.
Oh man, group chatting with your mama. There you go. There you go.
Yes.
I hope it's with your other siblings.
Well, my sisters, yeah.
There you go. There you go. Well, I mean, because don't you have a brother also?
Yeah.
And that would be considered a sibling, but I mean, since you're going to specify.
But I specifically said it was a group message with my mother and my sisters.
Oh man, oh man. Words of the nerd.
In fact. So tell America about your day, and then I will show them the happy part of my day yesterday.
What was the happy part of your day yesterday?
Fine. You know what? Thank you for making it about me for a change. Thank you. I feel
it's
valued in this moment. Thank you. So yesterday, Austin and I started a sourdough starter kit. Now, sourdough is not something that happens overnight, as anybody who has ever cooked. Oh, Mom says she's doing fine. Thanks for asking. Sourdough is not for the faint of heart. It is a process. It's an act of love, and so they actually tell you to name your starter. So Austin came up with the name Sour Bill. Yes, from Wreck-It Ralph. And then we also yesterday did a copycat recipe of pumpkin muffins. But they're fantastic. They came out exactly right. But I think I'm going to change it up just a little bit. I'm going to make it a little bit more exciting. So add more texture and dimension to my muffin.
So you're going to add more texture and dimension to your muffins.
Oh my God.
I mean,
you know what? You read too much Current Revolt this morning. That's what I think happened.
Would you? I mean, do you know the Muffin Man?
Do you?
The Muffin Man?
Does he live on Drury Lane?
That's the one.
Well, he's married to the Muffin Man. Oh, come on. Shrek? Come
on. Who's what?
Shrek.
Are you saying truck?
Shrek.
What's up with Shrek?
That was from Shrek.
What was?
Oh my God, hold on.
Do you know the Muffin Man? That was before Shrek.
No, what the part that I add? Oh my! Just wait a second. Just hold everything. We can't move forward on the day without this. So you're just going to have to deal with it. Sometimes I forget that we have to educate Walter on things America, because he was out doing G.I. Joe stuff when some of this stuff happened.
Oh, you mean like Disney crap?
No.
While the kids.
This is DreamWorks. First of all, sir, this is DreamWorks.
Well, it's all the same thing. It's diddling kids and giving them a reason to get glued to the TV when they should have been off their fat asses and outside getting active and happy.
I was a grown person who took no children to go and see this movie. Thank you.
And where were you located?
When this one came out in Virginia. I think I've seen almost all of the Shrek movies.
So you didn't take children to it. Did you go see it, or did you sit at home and
Of course I went and saw it. I went and saw the second one twice in theaters. What's wrong with you? Actually, we saw this one in the theater 3 times.
Okay, well, there you go, America. There you go.
These are the things.
Your face is dark again.
I don't.
Just
getting it now. This is most important.
I'm seeing it.
This is how you can know who I am, Walter.
Sandra,
Run as fast as you can. You can't catch me. I'm the gingerbread man.
You're a monster.
I'm not the monster here. You are. You and the rest of that fairy tale trash poisoning my perfect world. Now tell me, where are the others? I've tried to be fair to you creatures. Now my patience has reached its end. Tell me, or I'll...
No, not the buttons. Not the gumdrop buttons.
All right then. Who's hiding?
Okay. Tell you. Do you know the Muffin Man?
The Muffin Man?
The Muffin Man.
Yes, I know the Muffin Man. Who lives on Drury Lane?
Well, she's married to the Muffin Man.
The Muffin Man?
The Muffin Man!
She's married to the Muffin Man.
That's like, yeah, it's fine. We'll watch it later.
so that's actually from the 90s.
That movie is from 2001.
Okay, well, close enough. There you go. I was actually in the continental U.S. whenever I was repeating those lines in a coffee shop in Houston, Texas.
So you just like to play dumb with me sometimes. Is that what this is?
You just jog up my memory. You know, you can't make fun of a veteran that's got a traumatic brain injury. I mean,
There we are.
I know you guys like to use this as the punchlines, but come on now.
It's a lot. That is a lot.
Okay. If Morgan Luttrell can do it, so can I. He's a congressman.
He is, in fact, a congressman. He is. So Simon has been yapping about this. Look, you're over here harassing me. This happened an hour ago.
What?
Simon. So this sheriff shot his judge in Kentucky, apparently, in his chambers.
And
I don't know. It literally has happened within the last hour. I'm trying to click on articles right now.
has he
Simon
given
gave
a
me
press
partial
conference over
information.
why he shot the judge?
Huh?
Has he given you an explanation, or has he done a press conference over why he shot the judge?
That's what I'm trying to find right now. I don't know.
Okay. Well, that's why late breaking news is never fun to have to sit there, because it's a metaphorical cliffhanger for you to just sit there in front of the boob tube until somebody gives you more news. You know what I mean, Vern?
It's a district judge.
Yep.
Fletcher County, Kentucky.
Which one is it?
Letcher?
How do you spell it, Goofy?
Letcher. What do you think I can't read? And I've given you probable cause to believe that.
Letcher, like Fletcher?
Well, I guess.
There you go.
So the sheriff
kill him?
allegedly walked
He must have
in.
captured him.
The sheriff did. So the sheriff allegedly walked into the judge's outer office, then told the court employees and others gathered that he needed to speak with Mullins alone. Shortly after the two walked into the judge's chambers, shots were heard. Then Steins walked out with his hands up and surrendered to the police officers. They tried to save the judge's life, but none were successful. No other injuries were reported.
Well, looks like there's going to be two elections, huh?
Also. So apparently there's been all this scandal inside of the sheriff's department because two of his deputies were raping, I'm sorry, one of his deputies was raping other women.
Kind of sounds like Al Rosen of Precinct 1 in Harris County, Texas. Constable Alan Rosen.
Wow, but it doesn't say exactly why the sheriff shot the judge.
Well, at least, at least he didn't shoot the deputy.
Well, it was in self-defense.
The rumors came around.
Yeah, they haven't released what they think the actual motive is, though. So there we have that.
Yeah.
There we have that.
When cops gone wrong, police go bad. Yep.
It's Kentucky. They were probably it was a meth thing. They were encroaching on each other's territory.
All you know is it was probably a methed up situation.
It was in fact a messed up situation. That's all we know. That's all we know.
Yeah.
That's all we're going to probably know before the show ends either. So there we have that.
Yeah, well, and so they have so again, now that's a higher power. That's the sheriff that was doing that. We have the same situation that had gone on in Harris County with Al Rosen's office. He's notorious for buying hiring troubled cops that are giving him a second chance. And the one that he gave a second chance to, I believe his name was Ron Johnson, ended up blowing his brains out. Not Ron Johnson. What was it, Ron? Robert Johnson. It was Robert Johnson. Blew his brains out on a bridge after it was discovered that him and another deputy were having a torrid love affair while sexually abusing minors in hotel rooms that their dispatcher was setting up for them. And Kim Ogg's office in Harris County actually helped to bury that situation. And then, of course, the people that went verbal on it in a lawsuit because a couple of the police officers were actually raped both by the deputies within the constable's office as well as while they were serving as UCs or undercover. Their actual requirements for becoming an undercover was you had to be comfortable taking your clothes off, not preserving evidence, creating the mood to gain evidence. I mean, none of that stuff. It was literally just you got to get naked. If you get touched, you get touched. And then trafficking groups such as the Houston 20 actually wrote an amicus stating the women knew what they were signing up for as undercovers. They knew that they were going to be raped. And so I believe each woman got like a $350,000. It was like a $1.8 million lawsuit over the deal. And anyway, a lot of scandal coming out.
Well,
So it happens. It happens.
It's definitely a precarious situation because, as those women, they wanted to do the right thing, but the men in that situation were just taking advantage of that.
Well, and the fun part is one of those cops, her husband, is one of the troubled police officers. I believe he got a promotion over the deal by sacrificing his wife.
Well, it's a damn shame.
Hey, you know what they say, badge over booty. It's my duty.
Wow. I mean, that's what they said, I guess, sort of.
Yeah, that is.
I'll use my badge to win over your booty.
That husband sold his old lady out so he could get a promotion.
Oh, I understand.
I'd have gone in there and whooped my boss's ass over some stuff like that. If that was but then again, never get your money where you get your honey and never get your honey where you get your money. That's what I always say.
You always say it, yeah.
Yep.
No, it's seeing all of these essentially rape things, not essentially, all of these rape stories coming out at there's nothing I can say to say this eloquently, but it's all kind of coming to a head, and you have to wonder how much of this is planned on its timed release and how much of this is just the natural time of its release.
Well, I think it's a natural time of his release, since it was the sheriff walking into the chambers and just pulling the trigger.
No, I was talking about the rape stuff, like with P. Diddy. We got the story that Current Revolt just put out. Now, this one wasn't a rape story. This was just a gay porn story.
Well, what did Current Revolt put out?
Don't be dumb about that. You already know it. What's the?
Is that about Corey DeAngelis, the school choice lobbyist or expert or whatnot, the guy that was doing gay porn back in 2014, and now he's trying to get the sex books out of the classroom?
Well, yes.
Okay. Well, I'm glad he finally decided to rise to the occasion. It's a stiff subject.
Oh, come on, Walt. So tacky, but I mean, you're not wrong. This is coming out at the same time that all of this stuff with P. Diddy's coming out, and all of those players. Some of the other stuff is getting resurfaced with Cuba Gooding Jr. and I've even heard, even though he's not involved, that I've seen yet, Bill Cosby. All of these stories are starting to kind of resurface a little bit. At the same time that old Kamala is tanking miserably.
Oh, Kamala.
Then I saw a video of Obama this morning, and he looked like he was deathly sick.
Well, it has to do with probably the tools that his wife has to work on him with.
Gross.
Well, I'm sure Michelle has opened up some new situations there. It's all you don't always see what's going in the front door. Usually it's going in the back.
Is that how they smuggle things in?
It's how you smuggle and snuggle and struggle.
Getting deep. Anyway.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Kind of crazy. I saw our good friend Anthony on his live stream, and he actually approaches a van being driven by one of the diddlers for the Harris administration or one of the NGOs. It's got a van loaded with children. So the question is, what is one single white guy doing in Arizona or California with a van load of foreign children? Van load, and it's a white van too.
Seems to be the color of choice these days.
It's been the color of choice for decades, over half a century.
I know, but you've just seen it more and more.
The white van in free candy is a symbol of, well, sweet oppression. Is that what they call it?
Sweet something. It is time for a commercial break, more or less. I've got a couple stories we're going to pull up concerning some of our elections coming up here on the big state and the big nation. So we're going to have fun with those. So hold on to your seats, kiddies. Go heat up that pumpkin spice.
Well, when we get back, we'll discuss what you asked me to discuss, and it'll lead right into the elections.
Perfect. And hold on to your seats, kids. Heat up your coffee. Get your friends. We'll be right back. We are back with a huge thank you to you. Make sure you check out TexasFullyLoaded.com. Click on that hashtag We the People Work. PayPal, Cash App, and Venmo, all at Texas Fully Loaded. You can also like and share every single episode. That kind of helps keep us knowing where we're at with some metrics and where we're at with viewership. You know, if you don't like the show, you could put a sad face or a grumpy face. But if you love it, or if you at least moderately like it, you could also put a face, like all of those things. This is not a pay. I'm not bringing you onto the screen yet. You're being gross. You're being gross. This is not a paid advertisement, by the way, but I have to tell you about this stuff. This stuff is called turmeric anti-inflammatory cream. Now, I got this at the ranch, the farm ranch that we went to, the Regenerative Farm Ranch. And you can find this at islandturmeric.com. This is like a miracle cream stuff. So it says, let me tell you why I bought it. So it says that it was for arthritic pain, acne, it's antibacterial, antiviral, anti-inflammatory, wound healing, scar diminishing, antioxidant, anti-aging, eczema, and psoriasis cream, right? Well, it's not cream, it's more like an oily kind of stuff. So anyway, I bought this for, just because y'all know my knee acts up every once in a while and a couple of other little things. Well, Charlotte, I didn't share this on social media. So let me put this up here. Charlotte got bit on her back by something. I don't know what the something was, but she got bit on the back by something. I don't know if you can see. You can kind of see there it is. See how bad that bite is right there? So I was like, I wonder if I can put this on it. 30 minutes, folks. 30 minutes later, you cannot see the bite. Well, all you can see is there. You cannot see the bite on her back anymore. Anyway, so then I started using this on the boys' acne spots and things like that, clearing them right up, blackheads, everything. So it's like if you watched my Big Fat Greek Wedding and you know the joke behind the Windex, this is now becoming my Windex. I'm putting it on everything and it's working great. Facts, straight facts. I just have to share. If I find good things, I tell you guys about it. That's it. It's a miracle. Little miracle in jar here. Yep, it's real good. It's real good for you. Anyway, all right. So go ahead and finish to go into your segment, so we can go into. It's all going to awkwardly flow.
So no awkwardly flowing to it. I went to the Carlsbad Republican Women's Club and spoke in Eddy County, New Mexico. Specifically they've got the CD2 race, which is Gabe Vasquez took that because Republicans didn't show up in the 2022 elections. So Yvette Harrell, who came in 2020, was obviously tossed out. So now she's back. And there's two sets of counties that are heavy duty Republican, but they don't seem to get out the vote. And so now there's a larger, and there's a larger force behind. But now people are going, hey, we've got to change things. We've got Democrats that are coming over, and then we're seeing the Gabe Vasquez. If you look at electronic TV, so whatever comes to your internet TV, he's got all of these just inaccurate. They take sound bites. It's your typical. My whole thing is these candidates should be able to sue for slander and libel whenever somebody spins what they've said out of control, and then they play the limited clip over and over and over again just to mind screw the viewer who could possibly be voting, or who says, you know what, we're just going to sit at home. We've seen the video of Gabe Vasquez at defund and Black Lives Matter rallies where it's defund the police, and now he's sitting in Congress. There's an energy from El Paso over to Amarillo, and I'm hoping that in New Mexico, we're able to pick up that CD2 seat over there and get Yvette back in the House. Not just her, but they've got a couple folks running. We've got some good sheriffs out there. And then we have the Dona Ona County Sheriff. And in case you don't know who she is, she's the one who has the uncertified chief deputy, the executive whatever you want to call him. He's not a cop, doesn't have a badge, doesn't carry a gun, but yet he is the number 2 man in the sheriff's department. So New Mexico is obvious a mirror image of the Biden administration, where you put a figurehead in there and you make sure someone behind them is pushing the buttons. And remember, Donna Ana County is where the plane that came into El Paso, that's where they ended up taking El Chapo's hitman, and I believe it was his accountant, into custody a month ago, and which is now igniting those wars over in Mexico, where you've got La Linea fighting against the cartels. So all this does tie into the elections, because you've got these folks that are getting out there. The state of New Mexico has just the highest prices on campaign gear I've ever seen, and which is unfortunate. But you know what? That just shows where they're at. It's also the most impoverished state in the nation. It's one of the. It's a party to the Delaware Basin, the Permian Basin, all of that. Huge oil and gas in the southeastern part of those 2 counties. But at the end of the day, it is one of the poorest. It's one of the poorest states we've got in the nation.
Yeah, and I'm just pulling up something that we can help promote here to copy exactly what the area that you're talking about. You know, I know specifically you're talking about New Mexico, but you mentioned El Paso and stuff a little bit, so it kind of scoops into that. There's going to be a bunch of Trump train parades happening. This weekend, this coming week? Not the one that we're fixing to have, but the weekend after, right? I know Anthony's hosting one in El Paso, and that's the video I was fixing to pull up for America, because there's, you know, the excitement is out there, and I think that a lot of people are thinking that it's only in certain areas that Trump is alive, and he's not. He's alive in a lot of areas. They just don't have the same reach that the and El Paso is a high population area, but people just don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, Paso's got what, 1.5 million people. I don't know if it's just in the city or if it's the county as well. I do believe it is the county, and you know, a lot of those are also the ones that hit when the census worker came to take the rolls. So they've always had more than enough. It is the place where the Biden administration did clean up the city for Kamala to come and check out and to walk around. You know, where the Venezuelans were urinating and defecating in the streets. They had street cleaners come in, cleaning up. They moved all the porta potties out, and the mounds and mounds of clothing that were being traded on the street were being, that stuff was removed. I mean, we're talking tons. The hundreds of tons of clothing along the Rio Grande River should just piss every environmentalist off on either side of the border. So it's just we did see where the governor of Chihuahua, she was, I believe she's the one who's the state that Juarez is in. She was the one that was working against AMLO, trying to help America. She worked with Greg Abbott, and of course the Mexican regime, communist regime. They kept bringing those people in through El Paso, and that's where we've actually got the Tren de Aragua assaulting the National Guard, and of course cutting the wire, things like that. Which again, that by itself is a felony. I've yet to see the state of Texas press those charges. So that's an interesting thing. We have laws on the books, and nobody wants to press the charges for national defense just yet. They just want to sue and have civil court cases and things like that.
Well, that gives the appearance that we're actually doing something, not that we actually are doing something.
I also posted a video on my SD19 page. It's a reel that I shared, and it is a Democrat who doesn't sound like a Democrat, and she says, "Come out and vote." And actually, I shared it because I agree with what the Democrat said. She said, "You don't have to vote single party all the way down the ballot." And right. So while there's folks that may not be able to vote for Donald Trump, which we need you to, and it's obvious that you should be. You know what? If we can't bring you all the way over in the general election, we'll take what you're going to give. And so that's whenever you do look at what's going on in the cities, in the state, positions and the judicial positions, specifically the judicial positions. We just have judges gone wild in the cities, and in some cases, the criminal courts of appeals, they're behind in their cases because things are getting up there. There was Republicans that were pushing a different narrative to get their people elected on how the criminal courts of appeals are working, and they were placing it on some of those judges, and it falls back onto the fact that some of those courts have never opened back up. They are still under Zoom. You have attorneys that are doing Zooms and their cats are walking all over their paperwork and whatnot while they're having court, and they're sitting in dressed from the top up, but they're in pajamas from the bottom down. We're waiting for that moment where the oops happens like it did during Zoom. So it's the elections are serious. I think Democrats are and Republicans, the serious ones, are not throwing the party lines in there. They're saying, hey, this is good versus evil. And I've been able to look across the aisle, and while people are saying Democrats, I'm like, you know what? You've got some really good ones over there that the Republicans have never paid any mind to, and there's nobody in those races. So they're going to keep doing what they're doing as long as we keep saying what we're saying. Oh, well, conservative this, conservative that. But again, as Current Revolt had pointed out, the party has no money, and now we're in a situation where we've actually had a new chairman take over, and there's been no audit. We don't even know what the old chairman has done. So who hangs the financial insecurities on who?
So I have the video that you just referenced pulled up. I believe that she has a great soundbite. That's probably about as far as she goes. Here we are.
You see how I have my voter registration card? Very demure, very mindful. I don't go around looking like a clown. If I'm not a registered voter, I don't complain about the government. Many like to vote down party lines, but that's just not very cutesy. Be mindful and register to vote before October 7th. You see,
it's kind of painful a little
bit. She's teaching the population new words, because I was like, demure. Hang on, I gotta look that
that's
one
a big buzzword right now.
Is it really?
Oh yeah, it's ridiculous. They're trying to use demure all the time. Like, what was the one that they used a couple months ago all the time? It was just obnoxious, and it's just like,
I don't know, but she was pretty hot. I was like, you know what? I could jump into a unit that had a woman like that, and we could get things going, because she was tough. She held her own, and she shaved her head for everybody. That was the coolest part. Debbie Demure. What's her name? Demi Demure. Oh, dadgummit. I was thinking, okay, never mind. It's not Demure then. Okay, here we go.
You're really funny this morning. You're just a really funny guy this morning. You're just a very funny guy this morning.
It's a psychological tornado.
Yeah, no, you are. Well, I made the statement that I made before the commercial break because I didn't know. I kind of forgot what I asked you to talk about. I thought you were going to talk about the porn guy. Now that was going to flow into the elections, and I was just like,
Sandra,
awkward, but all right. Don't paint that picture.
Sandra, have you met me?
Yeah, that's why I was like, you could totally paint that picture.
What do I actually know about gay porn? Better yet, what does a gay porn star know about protecting your children from inappropriate books? And
you know what? Here's a fair here's an unpopular
actually hang on. So, and this goes back to what I've been saying. And this is a guy. Does this guy even have kids? Is he even married?
Probably.
Huh?
I know nothing about him, and I can't read the article. I'm not a paid subscriber.
But there's so many of these lobbyists, of these interns. Murphy NASCA hires the interns for the state of Texas, for the House. The reps don't pick them out. They place people where they go. I mean, that's why we've had all the scandals of Brian Slayton and Dade Phelan and Ken Paxton and I mean, it's just and whoever else. I mean, the Lacey Hall hot dog situation with Cole Hefner and or not Cole. Yeah, Cole Hefner. I was gonna say Hugh Hefner, but
Whatever.
you know,
She was
Shelby
hoping to, but I
Sausage,
guess not.
Shelby Sausage, and all those others folks. I'm like, you know, this is just crazy stuff to sit here and think about. We need to get out of. We need to get those people into office to do their job because they volunteered for that little paid political content on their side, on their financial side. But we can't trust them to be inside of the house working if they've got people that are placed in there as bureaucrats that's the whole bureaucratic nightmare. We're fighting it in DC, we're fighting it in Austin.
And look, I get it. You get put into a room or into a house, for lack of better terms, with a whole bunch of people for a very long amount of time. You know, I get it. Like we've all seen movies, been there, done that, all of the things, whatever, right? But at the end of the day, they're not taking their responsibilities to the state as the priority to stop that from happening. Instead, what we the people have hired is a dating service and a call service, and not people who have the embetterment of our future at hand here. And listen, I get it. Like I don't care what people do in their personal lives. I really don't. But if I don't feel that a porn star is the right person to be fighting for school choice. Now, here's the other side of that conversation. Is that, do I think that a school choice person is the right person to be leading this fight if they're a porn star? Well, there is the argument that states, well, they know what we shouldn't have in there, at least, because that way they don't turn out like them. So there's a fun counter argument that's not going to be a popular opinion.
Why would Tim Dunn and the Texas Scorecard and all those people, why would they be pushing a gay porn star, whenever they're advocating for family values and all that stuff? Why would they?
Because they don't do the research on their people.
Well, it gets back to the whole Nick Fuentes thing. It gets into the whole Nick Fuentes thing. They're busting out with the white supremacists and everything else, and it's like, this is not a time for the white supremacy of the Scorecard and all those people over there. And they pull out Jonathan Stickland. There's the talk of Luke Macias. I still yet to have a conversation with that guy, but yet I'm getting emails all day long, and I hear that he's actually the secret pawnbroker of the RBT. So whatever. The bottom line is the communication is not completely there, and they're just dropping stuff on Abraham George. And at this point now, I actually feel for the guy because I think there's more going on than what he's aware of.
Well, here's the deal. It's number one, they're not vetting out their people. That's the very first thing. The second thing is that they are vetting out their people. They're not giving a proper disclosure of, hey, look, here's the deal. I'm all for somebody turning their life around. Maybe that guy didn't know Jesus before he was a gay porn star. Maybe he did know Jesus and he was just on a wrong path at the time. Maybe he is trying to make a new life for himself. I don't know the answers to these questions, but the reality of it is that people are fallen and people are broken, and if they want to turn their lives around, that's fine. But let's have some openness with that conversation. You know what? Hey, this is who I used to be. This is who I am not anymore, and this is why. Like, have some realness of this conversation. Because look, if we're looking for a perfect person to push legislation, then we may as well just stop. I mean, I think, I don't know. If this guy's running one of these freaking porn rings inside of the state capitol or inside of these groups, then that's a different conversation. And again, what these people do in their private time is their private business. But at the same time, if we don't start changing this conversation to allow realness, then we need to stop and look backwards. But also, and look at Kevin Witt, for example. He was at least open with his story of like, hey, this is why I'm now no longer this person. And I'm not saying everybody who's got a dirty secret or a dirty past needs to be that person, but there should be something out there. If you're trying to become a lobbyist for a purity thing, be honest with it. Just be honest with it.
Yeah. And that's our thing. Everyone's trying to church up the Republican Party. And I mean, the more they church it up, man, the more it falls apart.
Well, and that's by design, because you know what it does is it allows people to say, see, look, all these people claim that these people are Christians, and look at how dirty every single one of them are. And it's allowing Satan to do what he's done to every single church, which is to destroy it. And so now he's like, oh, you want to play church in your party? Let's do this too here.
Yeah, and that's where, that's where the whole combination of Matt Rinaldi and the Dunns had come together on things, and it totally took the billionaire atmosphere. The Yankee Connecticut attorney that couldn't hold his seat in a red area and lost it back in 2018. And we saw him talking out of both sides of his mouth. We saw what he did with the young Republicans and how he created that division there, and all of that was so that Trump would lose Texas. And then they led people on to believe a whole different situation, and now everyone's finding out, oh, the party's been bankrupt for quite a while. And you can't get any answers. You don't get in. Ralph Fight was made the treasurer, but then I read this morning about, they just posted his expungement from whenever he beat one of his family members back in 2008. And I'm like, well, what kind of people are we having here? I definitely know nothing of perfection, but everything you can say against me is it doesn't have to do with the fact that I whooped the shit out of somebody in my family. It doesn't have anything to do with the fact that I was milking money, or that I was pushing my own personal agenda within the political party I was in charge of, so that I could get the president-elect unelected. That was that. The whole leading the folks to water. He wasn't just Rinaldi wasn't just leading folks to water. He was dunking their heads in it. And, half that Kool-Aid was probably laced with whatever Jim Jones was cooking back in the 70s.
Well, that and a little combination from P. Diddy, but don't worry about that part.
Hey man, and he goes to look at it. So we got the Brian Slayton thing that came up. Okay, that happened. Well, at what point are we going to have the gay porn being shot in the Austin Capitol like they had in the DC Capitol under Joe Biden?
That's fair.
Yeah, I mean, is Austin pegged for this, or is this going to happen on its own?
Nice usage of the words there, pal. But that goes up to bring another great point. How many times did Dave Phelan say that this is Texas, not DC? And yet every single time we turn around, we're seeing more and more DC in our Texas.
Well, no, wholeheartedly. Look at where the consultants for the state of Texas are coming out of. Look at New Mexico. Everyone is using these DC consultants now, which are infiltrating the state capitals. So if we can't have the president retrieve the control of the nation by pulling the states in, then you have the whole subversive consultant thing where they're all working together before they even get them into office, and they're grooming people in Austin to perform the way DC wants them to perform. That's where all their money's coming from. That's where all their data is coming from. That's where the bills that we're seeing, it's like, hey, school choice was not on, border security was on the agenda, not school choice. And the problem, the border is the number one problem with the whole entire state of Texas. It's the taxation. It's the school choice issue because the taxpayer is paying for those kids that are being illegally taught. Not just that, but we're actually paying for the invasion, and they're taking the jobs. They're not assimilating. I'm waiting for the cats and the dogs to start getting eaten in Texas. At least Greg Abbott was hard enough on everybody to say, hey, get the Haitians out of Texas. Took them to Ohio, and now we've got media on the ground in Ohio. They got people in Ohio, and you know what? The residents are coming forward saying we're tired of our animals going missing and stuff happening, and the car wrecks, and the fact that the insurance has gone through, has tripled or doubled or tripled. All these things are happening, and while the media is saying, well, that's a lie, they're not the ones sitting in that town covering things. They're not talking to people. And so now we have the collusion between the media and the government. Is it the Austin government? Is it the DC government? It's the government, period. There's an overwhelming sense that, hey, we need to steal your tax dollars, and we need to steal your future and your children's future and your legacy.
Well, I want to shift back without going backwards. on something that you made the statement about environmentalists not caring about the border. And they need to be because of the amount of clothes, just the amount of clothes that we find on the border all the time. There is the House Committee on Natural Resources is actually going to be hearing a bill called the Flash Act next week. And the Flash Act is specifically to engage the Natural Resources Department of the Interior and things along those lines in what is happening specifically on our southern border. You know, we've been making the comments about where's PETA with all this stuff happening with the Haitians. You know, all these liberals claim that they love animals, and yet here they are allowing the ones in that are literally eating Fido. So you know, we're seeing these things, and I think, you know, as much as I hate to say it, I think that because of how extreme it's gotten, because of the warnings that we've as conservatives been giving out, it's gotten and have been saying, hey, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, it's going to happen. Well, now it's coming full circle and it's happening. And now the Democrats are going, hey, what the crap is happening here? Like, we need to draw some attention to this nonsense. And so now we're all going, aha.
Well, and we shouldn't be saying, aha, I told you so. We should be saying, hey, now can you grab the rope and help us pull our country back? I mean, we're literally at a tug of war where the people on the other side is who we were fighting at first. Now they're saying, you know what, I don't want to be here. And then they're looking over at us going, why are they fighting so hard? They're looking back going, wow, we were just lied to. Now they're starting to walk over, they're grabbing the rope and they're helping us pull. But you know, now's not the time to subvert those people to ridicule. It's like, hey, you know, hey, welcome. You know what? Glad you're finally here. Period.
Right. No, I completely agree. Now there's a new poll, and y'all know how I feel about polls, but I really, in my heart of hearts, I don't feel like it's incorrect. Just because we've been kind of.
Is it the school choice poll?
That's for another day. That one's not. You have to pay extra for that one. Even better. This one is about our dear friend Ted Cruz and his running mate Colin Allred. And they're now showing that Colin is pulling ahead of Ted. Is the first time that Ted's ever actually losing to Colin is happening right now. Now this is supposedly done by the Morning Consult, and that they Allred, I'm sorry, is pulling 1 point ahead of Cruz. Now you guys know how I feel about polls. But here's the reality is that Ted has become so disingenuous over the last, two decades almost, that he's been in the public eye, that I'm not surprised that he's losing it all. I think that he's terrible for what he's done in terms of, it's not his voting record, it's his political record. He's turned his back on the Republicans. He's got no use for the grassroots. He's making that abundantly clear every time he turns around. And here we are. Kamala's going down in the polls. Colin's going up in the polls. What are you looking at for down ballot stuff? I mean, let's not talk politics. Let's talk real policies and real people.
Yep. And you know what? We're seeing the rhetoric that, you know, I see what Colin Allred's putting out on Ted Cruz, and I see what Ted Cruz is putting out on Colin Allred. And Allred has not gone. I mean, I'm waiting for that October surprise because Allred's people aren't idiots. They're going to have some zingers. And remember, when you demoralize a Ted Cruz supporter, you have somebody who does not go in there and pull for the president and doesn't go in there and pull for down ballot. They just don't show up and vote, like what was seriously happening all across the state in 2018. And that's because Ted Cruz and his campaign didn't pick up the punch or didn't pick up the push until late in the game.
But you know, here's going to be Cruz's problem is that people are sick and tired of not hearing or seeing from him until he needs their vote. You know, and that's going to be the real problem. And I know that you personally warned him and his team against that. But this goes back to what so many disenfranchised voters are saying is like, hey, we're not going to keep voting for somebody who only comes and craps on us. Hey, I'm here. Let's take a big group picture, smile everybody, and then leave. The fun part was when I was working for He Who Shall Not Be Named's campaign, I had some lady in Starr County came up to me and she goes, oh, you're only here because you need our vote. And another lady said, Sandra hasn't not been here. What are you talking about? Sandra's been showing up here. If she's invited, she's there. You know, she's where she can be as much as possible. And she's kept in the middle of all of this stuff and knows exactly what's going on. So Sandra's not our typical politician, like whoever the hell this guy is. And so, you know,
again, another advocate from DC that just showed up on the plane and got out, had a good speech, talked to people, and has left nothing but bills and unpaid invoices.
Yep. Well, and disappointment from people all over the state. And you know, we see that time and time again. And you know, I have to be careful because of what we're doing. But, you know, we see over and over and over again, whether it's a federal office, whether it's a state office, whether it's even a local office, people are sick and tired of only politicians showing up for a photo opportunity, for a quick promo video, and then bouncing. Like, we're sick and tired of that. You know, you see and I hate to say this, but I can't stand Jason Owens, so I'm going to say it anyway. Since Jason Owens has become the chief of the Border Patrol, you only see him to show up for a promo video and then he disappears. He's not doing his job as the chief of the Border Patrol, because if he was, we'd have a lot more happening. But instead, he's busy blowing the budget on making promo videos.
Why has he not been called in front of Congress like the director of the Secret Service was, like Mayorkas was, like
Ortiz was called?
Well, yeah. Ortiz was called back in 2022 when he was the former, but yeah, they have not ever called the current. Or I haven't seen it anyway.
Sorry.
So yeah, I mean, yeah. Well, the thing is the number one crisis is the border crisis. The agents that have allowed these people to come in, they carry the blame until somebody comes up and takes up for them. You know what? They were ordered to go back and process people 20 miles away from the border, which allowed millions upon millions upon millions of people to come in. And that's exactly what Senator Josh Hawley had pointed out. That's exactly what Senator Ted Cruz had pointed out. That's what several Democrats, believe it or not, have pointed out, because they're tired of having to take their party's narrative. The Republicans are tired of in office. That's why we're having yet again, right before the election year, another fight over the CR. Are we gonna fund the government or not? Oh, Republicans, they want open borders. I mean, look at Kamala Harris and all of her stuff. What are they saying? Oh, she secured the border wall, all that kind of stuff. Calling all reds, running all over West Texas out here. He's talking with all these sheriffs that are, hey, illegal alien prosecutions are down. Well, no crap, Sherlock. It's because they're flying them into the interior. They're not driving through your town anymore. They're putting them on airplanes, or they had been putting them on airplanes. They're putting them on buses. They're sending them in mass migrations across the United States, period. And it's not Greg Abbott doing that. Texas does not have the resources that the federal government has. Texas was not putting that many people on buses.
Well, the federal government claims to have. You know, one of the conversations that I was having about this Flash Act is where funding's coming from, where it's going, all that kind of stuff. And the real conversation is the federal government doesn't have money. Like, they're completely bankrupt. They're playing with bananas.
No, I literally watched a project on a federal park, on a national park. I watched a project being paid for by New Mexico taxpayers. Remember, this is the state that has the worst poverty rate in the nation. But right, they had to pay for the federal government to fix their problem. They had to pay the federal government to fix a problem because they're not getting the tourist dollars that they used to get. And this has been since the middle of Obama. So it's gone through Obama, Trump, and Biden. And now Biden, and yet now it's not Biden fixing the problem; it's the state of New Mexico fixing the problem. It's the Democrats in the state saying, you know what, we can't trust the federal government. We're going to have to do it ourselves. We cannot continue to sink lower and lower. And New Mexico has just been doing nothing but sinking lower and lower.
Well, and here's the real, and it's not, I guess, not a real physical crime, but a real crime, the real, emotional crime, if you will, is that these parks and these wildlife preserves that the federal government is supposed to be taking care of under our tax dollars and all this other stuff they get funding for. People also pay to go to these parks. Like you can't just go to one of these parks. It costs money to get into the park to be able to use the resources of the park that our tax dollars are already paying money for. But the problem is most people don't care about that. Let me put that out there. Most people don't care that they have to pay to go to the park. Even just to drive into the national parks, it costs like $35 a person unless you get the little Save America pack or pass or whatever it's called, America the Beautiful pass. But the problem is they don't have the funding for these national forests and things like that to have rangers even there anymore. So now not only are so this is which all of this funding comes from you and I every single time. It comes from you and I in our tax dollars, and it comes from you and I in our tourism dollars when we go to these places. We didn't drive through the Rockies because it was going to cost us almost $40 to drive through it to not even be able to enjoy it because it was pouring down rain.
Well, and then look at the fact that the illegal aliens get to come through the park system without the Border Patrol even pulling them over, and they're trying to figure out, well, how do we find the illegals? The illegals that are getting paid by our tax dollars. So it's going to be, well, why don't they just say, hey, we need to create a separate fund so we can clean up after these people, because they're creating this mess. Now you have to pay to come, but if you're not going to pay to come and enjoy it, you at least have to pay to clean up after these people, because if we don't take the money from them and we don't charge them with this, because they're not going to show up for court anyway, they're indentured servants somewhere else, but yet they leave their trash everywhere, and that they do. That most of our country is open and nobody will discuss the places the Border Patrol is not.
Right. Well, and I think a lot of people just don't know that they're not there, for starters. The cartel know that they are not there. The cartel also knows that the park rangers are not there. And so they're taking full advantage of all of that.
Your dead child from the fentanyl overdose that was brought in, they knew that they weren't there because that was their last dying breath.
Nope. Sadly, you're absolutely correct. So, there's a lot that's happening within our government, within whether it's state or federal or even local, that people are just not paying attention to. And a lot of it is just because we have the inmates are running the jail instead of the people holding them accountable, all for a lack of knowledge. People just assume instead of know. Because when they find out, they're pissed. Well, we got about 10 more minutes or so, and there's stuff. I know it's hard to believe. I swore we were only going to be on I told you on the phone. I was like, I'm only doing this for an hour and a half. I have shit to do, because I do have shit to do. But I know. But here we are. It's been a nonstop conversation, so it's really been good stuff. And we've covered quite a bit of information with the news. You look like you're fixing to say something.
It's been some hard topics. I mean, it's a lot of stuff. Like I said, it goes in the back door that nobody ever thinks about, and it's things that affect us. And when we open the front door to it, the back door doesn't always get closed. It just gets plugged. So these are things that we really need to worry about and make sure that we have a good stronghold and a firm grip on.
I don't even know how to follow up with that.
Hey,
Flowers?
everybody! It's going to be a great weekend. You enjoy your day in Texas today. The rest of the day, enjoy your weekend. If you got a Trump train, if you got an event, get out there, get it done. Get out there and register people to vote. Dadgummit, stop waiting on everybody else to do your job. Get out there, register as a deputy voter registrar, and get these people out to the polls. Drive them if they're over the age where they can't drive. Drive them. If they're handicapped and someone's taking advantage of them, report it. Make sure that your vote is counted and not discounted by the fact that somebody else is getting money to get their candidate in office.
I really don't have anything else to follow up with after that. So maybe dinner, some wine. don't really know. Walt, you had it spot on. Make sure you do something if you can. Do something with your kids. If not, just do something good for your community. Maybe do something good for you. It's important little self-care. So pluck your nose hairs if you need to. Do what you need to do, yo. Stop it, Walter. Oh, gross.
Want that
For the rest of us. I'll be doing some traveling next week, so hopefully we'll be live more often than not. The laptop coming home from the repair guy will be a big determining factor there. But we'll be in touch. So we love you guys. Have a fabulous week. Oh God, well, have a good weekend. Bye. Walter.